Now today we're going to get stuck in to do the back shelf for the trailer. I didn't get the wood I wanted. I was going to get some ply, but Bunnings didn't have the size I was after, and their saw, their cut shop, was broken, so there was no way I could get that done. I don't have the gear to do it myself, so I had to buy some pine wood, fairly thick. It should be strong enough, and I just have to make a few cuts to bring it down to size. The longest night of the year last night, winter solstice, and an absolutely gorgeous bright morning this morning, but along with that comes the cold, so we're a little bit chilly working here this morning. This is what happens overnight as I'm working on stuff the day before. Everything just gets chucked in the back of the trailer. Now I'm going to bring it out and get to work. So the first job this morning is to just get that cable up along the side here, get it fixed in place. Once that's done, we'll get into doing the shelf. We'll get that all fixed up, and probably the last thing today will be to put up the power section here. Put some wood on the side, get the fuse box on, and then we're pretty close to the end of stage one, I guess. Once we finish all this, the trailer will be usable, and we'll probably be using it, although it won't be finished off. We've still got a lot to do coming up, but most of that waits now until the money gets saved up. I've already spent well over $300 just buying bits and pieces for this, and the wood was about $85. Not cheap wood these days, but well, you've got to buy these things if you want to do the work, I guess. You'll note there's a bit of a concession to the cold weather this morning. Got my little fingerless gloves on. These things are actually quite good, even though the tips of your fingers do get a bit chilly. Not as bad as your whole hand. The fact that these are warming the blood up, or helping to keep the blood warm, I should say, as it comes through your hand, means that your fingers really don't get as numb as they would do otherwise. Okay, so that's the cable in place. That's the main cable coming through from the battery. It's going to run up here, and we're going to have the power board up in this area, and we'll run everything from that. And the battery at the front will just have two connections to it. Actually make that three. One will be the solar coming in, one will be an Anderson plug to the car, and the other one is this one coming through to the trailer. So the rest of the connections, the fuse box and everything else, will be where it's more accessible, just by the back door here. So now it's time to start working on the shelf. did originally think about cutting some pieces out of the wood here and pushing the shelf right up. Not really much point in that because it's going to be tight against the metal there. Nothing's going to fall down the back, and it just means I'm going to have this much extra shelf space coming forward this way, and makes it a bit more convenient as it all comes up to this joint here. So now it's just a matter of securing these. One of the reasons I love shopping at Aldi is this sort of gear. You get nice little containers, all sorts of assortments of different things. In this case it's screws, and they don't cost you an arm and a leg. You go and buy this at Bunnings and see how much you pay for it. You won't get the container. These are great little removable items. You can just pick them up and take them out of the box. Brilliant box, good heavy duty box, it's going to last forever, and a whole big assortment of different screws. Now you imagine what you're going to pay for that in a hardware store or in Bunnings or somewhere like that. They're expensive. Aldi make these things dirt cheap for people, and I absolutely love the stuff they sell. I know I'm a walking advert for them, I know, but I just can't help it really. And that is the shelf done. That's now pretty solid. That, because the screws are going through into there, adds strength to this one. The back one should be fine. I don't think we're going to have anything up there that's going to be massively heavy. But good solid little shelf, and it's not going anywhere if we go over a rough road. That's the main thing. It's not going to all... It could be tempting, I suppose, to do it the lazy way and not put those corner brackets on. Corner brackets, I finally remembered what they were called. All day yesterday I was struggling with that. Unfortunately my memory is going. Comes with getting old. But that's it. I think 3 screws in the front, probably enough. They're good long screws. Secures it all. Really solid. So pretty happy with that. I'm not much of a carpenter usually, but that's one of my better jobs, I've got to say. I know there's people going to look at that and go, oh my god, what did he do there? But never mind. It's worked the way I wanted it to, and it was fairly easy, so that's good. Now in the end I did decide to put the chain on here. I figured that was going to be a much more secure way of holding it when the wind is blowing against it that way. I don't think the hook on the back would do a great job of that. The hook will stop it coming this way, but the chain's definitely a good idea to keep it from blowing around, especially if you've got another vehicle nearby. You don't want that slamming into the side of someone's car, or even my own car for that matter. Okay, now one thing I've got to do on the back here, got a little clip. Where are we? One more thing to do on the back of the door is this little clip. It's just got to hold that hook in place. So all I'm doing here is just putting some holes in the wall. It doesn't really matter where they go. to mount the boards that I'm going to put the power system on. This here, let's see, is it picking it up? Yeah. This here is what you do when you decide to be lazy and not use a punch. I should not have done that. I should have just got a punch and done it properly. Now we're just going to have screws coming through here, not rivets, so just to try and ensure we get a watertight seal there, we're going to run a bit of silicone around the back before we put the board on and screw it in. That should hopefully ensure that water doesn't get into the back of the board. Now you can just see here where the screws came through, they're a teeny bit too long, so we don't really want those sticking out, so we're just going to take the ends off those with a bit of a grinder wheel. And the little grinder wheel is from a set from Audi. Yep. I do like these little things that they sell. Very useful. I mean, a lot of people sort of bag Audi stuff and they bag cheap gear. Cheap gear isn't always bad gear, and that's the difference. If the gear works and does what you want it to do, well, why should it cost you an arm and a leg just because it's got a brand name on it? Now you could buy top end stuff and still have problems with it. I mean, people do all the time. Yeah, I guess they are made to higher standards, but I could not afford the tools I've got if I didn't buy them at the prices these guys sell them at. That's the simple truth of the matter. I couldn't go out and buy Milwaukee stuff and Stanley stuff and all the name brand, you know, what's considered good quality tools. This is the stuff I can afford. It does the job. I've tested it, I've used it, and I like it. So, you know, why doesn't everybody get into this more if they would need to save a bit of money? I don't want to spend, you know, 3, 4, 5 times as much for something that's made in the same factory in China. Now the next thing is to attach the fuse box. It's got a little selection of fuses in there. Went down to JK yesterday, picked that up. It was about 30 bucks for the fuse box, and I don't know how much the fuses were. I didn't really pay much attention. I needed them, so I just bought them. So where do we think? Somewhere up here maybe. I'm not quite sure where's the best place to put it. I don't know if there is a best place to put it. Do I want to put it up the top and have the wires going further up, or do I want to connect it here? Probably down here would make more sense. We've got that is going to be a negative. Sorry, that's going to be a positive. I've got a little bar here. That's going to be the negative. Again, little J-car item. So maybe down there somewhere, and then run the wires up from there, as long as we've got space between the two. Okay, that should fit. Try and get that nice and square. And that's going to be the basis of the electrics. We'll just trim this up, bring the positive into this one, negative into this one, and then we'll be able to run our current out from here. But of course I'm not going to attach the battery up yet. We'll get the basic work on this done and hook it all up once all the wiring's in. Not going to be anything particularly fancy about this. Power in, power out. Up here we're going to have an assortment of connections eventually. I'll have a cigarette lighter adapter, T-plug, Anderson plug, and then I'll run any wiring for the lights directly, I think. We'll see about that. I haven't made up my mind about the lighting yet, whether I'll keep it temporary or whether I'll change to something more permanent, but that's a bit in the future yet. Little terminal on there, and we just put the shrink wrap on it. Well, poor old back starts to ache after a while. Oh, don't have the best of backs in the world, unfortunately, so I've got to take frequent breaks. Time to sit down now and have a coffee. Oh, yeah, I needed that. Oh, what a beautiful day too. Much better than the last couple of days we've had. Certainly more pleasant to do a bit of work on a day like this. Actually starting to get a bit warm now, so I'll take the gloves off very shortly. Nice and tight, and that's the basics of the electrics. That's where it comes to, and from there everything else is going to fan out. So it's now just a matter of putting in the other connections. I've got a T-plug, pop that up here somewhere. The other bits and pieces I've still got to get, so we'll just finish off with a T-plug today, and I think that's going to be it. It's probably going to be quite a long video this time because I did quite a bit of work. A lot of people don't use these low voltage plugs, but we've used them for a long time. We're gradually switching to Anderson, but a lot of our gear is still connected up with these T-plugs. So I need at least one in here, just in case I bring something along that's got one of these plugs on it, and a lot of things I own do. So I need to have access to power through this, through Anderson. Basically I'm going to put a connector of virtually everything I can find on here, so that no matter what we've got at the time, we're going to be able to plug it in. Now these are, I guess, what you would call medium load plugs. They're not heavy duty like an Anderson, but they're not lightweight like stupid cigarette plug adapters, which are useless. I really don't recommend people use them, but just occasionally you need them, so I am going to mount some here just in case we need one. Now I don't know if there's a proper way to wire these things up, but what I do, and all my plugs wired up the same obviously, is positive goes to the top line and negative down to the bottom. So at least I know when I plug it in from one vehicle to another, I'm not going to get a short and blow my fuses. And this is actually a cigarette light adapter with a T-pin on it, so it's obviously something I've made up at some stage to hook up to one of these. That's actually, I did that for the Audi lights, that's right. So now when I put the battery in the front, I can technically plug that fellow in and then stick the Audi light bars into that, Although at some stage I'm going to change that and go to permanent lights, I think, but just temporarily we'll make use of the Aldi ones. They're worth, I don't know, $100 or so. So I might as well make some use of them. Haven't been using them much recently, so I can use them in this for a while until I can afford to buy some really good external and internal LEDs. Well, I was just in the middle of packing up, and I managed to tip the trailer up because she's a little bit back heavy with me on it. It's empty at the front. There's only a couple of tyres that are trying to compensate for my particular weight. And the whole thing tipped backwards. The camera was sitting just there, and it fell out onto the floor here. I was really hoping that it wasn't dead, and seems like it's still working, thankfully, as I really can't afford another $500 to replace the camera just now. So anyway, this is just a final wrap up for the day. What we got done today: put the line at the back, the power line, put it up in place, put the shelving in, and put the power board on, and did a little clip on the back door, which you've already seen anyway. So this is where we are at the moment. We've got the water tanks in, not complete yet. I've still got to finish the padding for those vertical straps. I've got to check water tightness. I'm guaranteeing there's going to be a leak of some sort there, because there usually is. And then the power board will be built from here. I've got to get cigarette lighter adapter. I've got an Edison plug. I might actually do that tomorrow. I'll leave that until I got some more gear, I think. But there'll be an Anderson plug stuck up there, and a cigarette lighter adapter, and some 5-volt USBs, and then we're going to be close to the end of stage 1. So thanks for your support on this channel, and we'll be back again as soon as I've got a bit more work to do. Okay, that's it. Cheers. Catch you later.